You're a fucking piece of shit! Why the can't you do what you need to do? This is how I always talk to myself. Yeah. Welcome to another video. Let's move this fucking bus! Woo! Been hating myself for the longest time. My latest video, I talked about how the discipline niche reinforces that negative self-talk, you know? But what I realized is that it's not about negative self-talk only. It is about a pattern that I saw in my life, repeating over and over and over again. And this disease, as I call it, needs a process to get through it. And in this video, I'm gonna talk about that in the form of a story. And this is kind of vulnerable because I noticed this with myself, like got it really clear only past week. My pattern that is also a symptom of this deeper misunderstanding of what is useful in your life is I kind of starve myself during the day and then at night I binge eat. And I believe that's why I'm not super fat yet. But there is a deeper reason why I binge eat. And you probably heard, yeah, you're ashamed of like your appearance and whatever. Yeah, and that's true with me as well. Because like if I lift up this shirt, this is my reality, folks. I have a little belly, but yeah, I don't like that about myself. Me making myself feel like shit, whether it's with work or with losing those final pounds, is because I have the belief that it's useful to make myself feel that way. This is what I'm doing. I'm preventing myself to feel okay with myself in order to get to my goals. And this is a pattern, you know? Negative emotion to motivate you towards something just before the finals, you know? Oh no, if I don't make this, ooh, get more stress, get into fight or flight. After the finals are done, then we like to relax. With this process that happened, this ingrained in myself the belief that stress and getting and doing stuff belongs together, and rest and relaxation and doing nothing, it also belongs together. And this was this fundamental belief shift that negative emotion is there to get me to do something, to get to a certain goal. So the way this manifested itself into my life is that I created a system where in order to feel good about myself, I needed to do something. And this is not like full pride. This is just not totally fucking up myself, you know? So in order for me to feel neutral, I needed to do all these things. I can only feel okay when I am ripped. I can only feel okay when I got my finals done and passed. I can only feel good about myself until I hit a PR in the gym. Do you feel this process? So why the fuck do I set the bar so high for myself? This is like always trying to reach an impossible goal, right? And this always kept me in this kind of desperate trying energy. So yeah, this is how I worked through that. There is a 3-step process that I use. So step 1 is detecting what is the negative thing inside of you, or where do you feel negative emotion. As you know, beliefs lay to the core of why we feel things. And with me, this core belief was, hey, I need negative motivation in order to do anything in my life. And that was why I was creating these thoughts and why I was talking so negative towards myself, and why I produced this feeling of shame, because if I have a thought like that in my head, it's way too obvious, and I already tackled that. Categorize that as, hey, this is not useful. But man, that little feeling of shame, that lingering sadness and anxiousness, oh man, you have to be careful because your ego will slip through, man. If it's not like vocal in your head, but just like a bodily feeling of negativity. So yeah, there was some kind of belief, but if you are dealing with it right now, right? You are feeling sad right now, and you have no clue why that is. So directly going to whatever is the root cause of that needs to happen through the body instead of through the mind. And I have often just trying to figure out with my head why I was feeling something. The thing is, I have had way more success with feeling first and then trying to explain why that is. Because when you're laying in your bed feeling a little sad, you have all these negative thoughts, right? Or all these negative feelings. For me, it was way more subtle because, you know, what I already talked about, this negative monologue isn't there anymore. For the people who are still dealing with this negative monologue, this works for negative monologue and it works for that more subtle thing of feeling shame. The negative monologue is the same exact process, and it's even simpler because you can directly notice that thought. And this little lingering feeling of shame is way more difficult to actually pinpoint. Step 1 is to detect. Step 2 is to regulate. And step 3 is to find that positive source of motivation. The first thing, detecting. Fuck, I already did this. Holy fuck, you spotted me having this negative thought and negative motivation creation. This is gold, ladies and gentlemen. This is gold. It was me talking bad to myself. You see, I'm aware of this situation. Step 1, detect. If you detect this, you become aware, oh fuck, there's something wrong. There's something wrong. Oh shit, I feel negative emotion, or I'm talking negative to myself. Then the next step is to regulate. Actually dealing with what is there. You've talked to yourself so negatively, like thousands of times, and you're now in this anxious state, or you felt so bad about having a belly, or whatever causes you to feel shame or any form of negative emotion. You need to deal with what is there. And you would think that you needed to go to the core issue right away. But what I found is that when you are in this anxious, emotional state, or this state in where you have so much negative monologue, is that you can't really detect what is the actual issue. Because when you are in such a high negative emotional state, your brain will try to explain whatever is going on in your feelings, in your body. So if you feel anxious, your brain is gonna think about 1,000 different reasons why you could be anxious, and that will build on top of the negative emotion. Because if you think about all the things that could make you anxious, that will make you more anxious, which in turn will create more of these negative thoughts. And your whole system will be clouded with all these different reasons why you could be anxious or shameful or whatever. And that way it's really hard to get to the core of the issue. So what you want to do is regulate this emotion first by going into the body, by going into the sore spot. What I do is I find that sore spot with this painful feeling, this emotion. And with a negative monologue, it's kind of the same thing. You have this negative thought, focal, in your head, but that is caused by a certain feeling, or that is causing a certain feeling. Could be all of the things. But if you feel negative underneath that negative monologue, just labeling it as not useful is not enough. So if the negative feeling goes away as soon as you stop with the negative monologue, that is fucking fantastic. But most of the time it will have a lingering feeling below that. So what I do is, your attention is basically a sort of flashlight, and you want to focus this flashlight on the sore spot. Most of the times I will run away from doing this, but as soon as you detect that negative feeling, you want to build up the courage to actually zoom in on this sore spot, zoom in on this pain point. And for me, this is often a place in my stomach or a place in my abdomen. And I will zoom in on this feeling, shine my flashlight on this sore spot. I breathe in. And breathe out. And what I will try to do is transform this breathing in into a yawn. And this might sound a little weird, but what I feel like is happening is that this tense energy, this contraction in your body, can come out in a certain way if you yawn. And I know that with some people it's shaking, and I know with some people it's yawning, and I know with some people it's crying. Focusing in on that feeling and breathing in and out very deeply. I do it as deeply as I can get because it is so similar to a yawn. And then I'll do... And then I will yawn. But right now I don't have like a sore spot. Yeah, I have a little stress, but I can try to do it. No. I did that when I was feeling shameful, and I yawned like 4, 5, 6, 7 times. And if you do that, a wave of relaxation will come over you. And you'll get teary eyes, and it just feels like your mom just hugged you for 10 seconds or something. It's really that warm, nice feeling. And whenever I do this regulation, oftentimes, like more often than not, the reason is just instantly apparent. It's so weird. I regulate this shit, and then bam, oh, it was because of that. My hypothesis is that because you zoom in on this actual feeling and you regulate your nervous system, it will go from fight or flight to rest and relaxation. All these reasons why you could be anxious, why you, like all these explanations, why you might be feeling this negative emotion, all just go away because you deal with the feeling first. And then it just becomes really apparent, and then you just know for some reason. So if you do that, you are like, oh fuck, this is the belief that underlies whatever I was just feeling just now. And when you identify that belief, you can label that certain feeling. For me, it was shame because I felt fat in a certain sense. Whenever I start feeling shame again, I can label that as being unuseful. And then I can go to the regulation step, and then it's over again. So that knowing why something is bad, like you obviously have to get yourself to a truthful place why it isn't useful, and this requires some thinking, but the body goes first. After this, I noticed, hey, this way of thinking, this creating shame, is not useful. This is not how I am going to get a six-pack, you know? This is not useful to improve my situation. This was all created by a belief that was me just trying to survive in high school and college, you know, creating negative emotion in order to do something, to get to a goal or whatever. I label it as not useful. Right then and there, you find yourself at a place called neutrality. How did I go from a place of neutrality to drive and a positive source of motivation? This is step 3. So this all has to do with this bar I set for myself, right? I talked about this in the beginning of the video. If you always try to set a bar incredibly high, you will always get into the emotional state of trying to get somewhere. Because if I set the bar as high as I can be happy, or I can feel good about myself, I can feel okay even about myself, only if I will lose these final pounds. Only when I hit a PR in the gym. Only when I get to enter goal right here, right? Like the first step for a positive source of motivation is actually lowering the bar, because you can't get into the emotional state of achieving. Like, you want to aim for the emotional state that will get you in this achieving energy. And lowering the bar is going to give you more wins. And this can look like only getting out of bed today, only showing up at the gym. I'm right now at a place where only putting on my fucking shoes and being outside, and maybe then run for 1 minute, is already enough. And then I can get into the emotional state of, fuck yes, I did this, creating a positive monologue instead of a negative one, and get into this emotional state, get this feeling of, I fucking did this. This is great. I am moving towards whatever I want to, you know, getting a six-pack or whatever. So that's the first thing, man, lowering your bar. And this feels like very counterintuitive, but get yourself some fucking wins, man. Lowering the bar equals a giant W. Win. So in my vlog, Master Plan for Changing My Life, Raw Vlog 2 on my channel, minute 42. It's a long video, but just skip to 42. 42, What I did was I entered the gym. I felt like a fucking winner. And then I went onto the treadmill. And in this winner energy, in this winner state, I ran 15 fucking kilometers. And that was just me being in that energy. My previous record was like 10 kilometers. And I did that only once. And that felt like heavy as shit. But this 15 kilometers, it felt effortless. It really felt like I could have run more. So go check that out if you want. Step number 2 is to objectively take a look at yourself. You are probably not a piece of shit. Just like I am not a piece of shit. If you take an objective look at yourself, if I take an objective look to myself, I see a guy, like from the third person, I see a guy that dedicates the majority of his life on helping others. Already from being a child, I already was in that service level energy. If I take an objective look at myself, I like helping other people start businesses. I am financially supporting people. I am doing everything in my power, also with this video, to be of service to people. And if I take an objective look at myself, and it might feel like, if you're hating yourself right now, it might feel like you have nothing to be proud of. That's not true, man. Take an objective look at yourself and find stuff that you can genuinely feel proud of. And I promise you will find stuff. Even if it's just, I'm still here. And I get goosebumps by saying that. Even if it's just, I'm still here and I'm fucking fighting. That is something to respect yourself for. That is something to give yourself credit for. That is something that can get you from feeling fucking desperate to I'm still fucking fighting. So take a fucking objective look at yourself, man. You'll find stuff that you can be proud of. I was just not choosing to see that. I could see that in others. I could see how they were always doing their best, but I couldn't see it with myself. I just didn't look at that. I just thought, oh, negative emotion is the way I get to goals. But it fucking bit me in the ass. Thing 3, I want to very much, and I think I already did that, this is called the trap to do. And this is kind of an extension on this first thing. But the trap to do is a saying that me and Felicia, go check out her channel, by the way, link down below, found out, is that most of the times when you're setting an impossible bar for yourself, you are letting your emotional state be guided by the things that you do. And I want to say it's actually the other way around. The right way, or the most productive way, hey, if you want to feel desperate, that be my guest, do it the other way around. But if you don't, then you need to not let your emotional state be guided by what you do. Can you still see this? Okay, not let your emotional state be guided by what you do. And then I'll just erase this, because you don't need to do this. You want your actions to serve the whatever. You want your actions to serve the emotional state that you prefer to be in. Most of the times in my life, I let my emotional state be guided by the actions I was taking. So once I do enter action here, I can be happy or whatever you want your emotional state to be. And it's actually the other way around. What can I do, action here, to be happy or whatever emotional state you prefer? This changes the game, guys. This changes, like, okay, what can I do in order to feel more happy? What can I do in order to feel like a fucking winner? And that might be raising or lowering the bar of a W, of a win. So try to find stuff, even talking good to yourself. And then it's important to, if you're going to do affirmations, that you genuinely, objectively take a look at yourself and find what you find nice about yourself and repeat that, because it needs to be truthful. You can't just say, I'm not a piece of shit, I'm not a piece of shit, I'm not a piece of shit. Yeah, maybe if you want to do that your whole life, I would say I'm a fantastic person, because your brain doesn't understand the concept of not. That aside, try to find something that you genuinely can pride yourself with. And then find actions to get yourself into the emotional state that you prefer. And I promise that your life will change. You definitely will feel a lot better, will attract way more opportunity, just live a way, way better life, or preferable, in my opinion. So thank you for watching. Like and subscribe this video if you got something out of it. Next week I'll be in Austria, so I am going to try with all my heart to release a video that Friday. I'm also very, very busy, so I'm not gonna be sure if it's gonna be a very long video or whatever, but I think I'll find a way. Thank you. See you next week.